Hi folks! Today we're going to be doing a first impressions look at an article I'm reading for Praxis. Now I don't know who it's by, there is no author listed on it, but it's called The Work Required to Have an Opinion. It's full of quotes from a businessman named Charlie Munger, who was sort of Warren Buffett's partner at Berkshire Hathaway. Let's take a look. Okay. I never allow myself to have an opinion on anything that I don't know the other side's argument better than they do. Charlie Munger. You're not entitled to take a view unless and until you can argue better against that view than the smartest guy who holds that opposite view. If you can argue better than the smartest person who holds the opposite view, that is when you are entitled to hold a certain view. That makes perfect sense. We all hold an opinion on almost everything. How many of us do the work required to have an opinion? You need to think emotionally, or not emotionally, but rationally. That makes sense. You need to become your most intelligent critic. I don't agree with, I agree with some of it, for sure, and remember, this is just first impressions, but, you know, I think, here's the thing. You're not entitled to take a view unless and until you can argue better against that view than the smartest guy who holds that opposite view. That is totally unrealistic. That doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine if I don't know, let's say I'm a Christian, and Stephen Hawking presents an argument, a cosmological argument against the existence of God. You're telling me that I'm not allowed to be a theist at all until I can disprove Stephen Hawking's argument against the existence of God? That doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's realistic for the average person, and I think that's sort of an elitist view to take. If you're Charlie Munger and you're a billionaire, then sure, you've got the time to say, okay, I can sit down, or you have the resources anyway, to learn all this stuff. But if you're not, if you're just a regular old working person who's like, well, I think we should have higher taxes, and Milton Friedman says, no, we shouldn't, how are you supposed to argue against Milton Friedman? You can't. So, nice idea for an article, not the right take, I don't think. Sorry, Charlie. So those are my first impressions. Let me know what you thought, if you agree, if you disagree. Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And we're back. And that was a joke. That whole first impressions video, I tricked you. Because we also read an article in Praxis called Give It 5 Minutes. And I'm going to bring it up here, by Jason Fried. And he says, any idea that you come across, you have to remember that there was a lot of work put into that idea. There's a whole thought process behind it that you need to respect before you can come out and say, I think your idea is stupid, or I totally agree with your idea. You gotta give it some time. So, I did not just record that first impressions video. I've spent some time thinking about it, but don't tell anyone my secret, okay? What I really think of the Charlie Munger article, well, my first response really was my first impressions that I just showed you. I was like, that's stupid. Like, how is that possible? And I still think that. I still don't think that it's possible for the average person to go up against an expert on economics or an expert on theology. I don't think it's necessary for them to do that to hold a particular opinion. However, I do take the general point, you shouldn't hold an opinion until you can argue against yourself the opposite side's arguments. You don't have to necessarily have the best arguments in the world, because that's really not feasible for a good percentage of the world's population. But you have to put the effort in, and you have to take the time to really say, well, why do I want higher taxes? Why do I believe in God? If you can't do that, if you can't say why you believe something, then why believe it at all? Because if you're ever challenged on it, you're just going to sit there and not really know how to respond, and that is no way to live. So, I like the Charlie Munger article. I don't agree with all of it, but I don't think there's a lot of stuff in the world that everybody agrees with every single aspect of it. I do agree with the Give It 5 Minutes article. I think that's pretty good common sense, and I am excited to keep reading this content and sharing more with you in the future. Bye-bye.